sharing the one word that can kill your career, promotion, or raise hopes. We're going to talk about it. Stay tuned when we dive into it. Hi, my name is Karen Turner, and along with my colleague and friend Orlando Haynes, we are the co creators of the Career Accelerator Planner. After sharing this idea with career coaches, recruiters, resume gurus, we know that there is nothing like this in the marketplace today. The Career Accelerator Planner is the only place you need to document your performance, your contributions, and your value. That's right, no more rifling through old sticky notes, trying to find emails you may have written to yourself, shuffling through old notebooks, trying to find the mentions of the projects or initiatives you were involved in that you thought you would never forget. And Orlando and I are not just handing you an empty notebook. Between us, we have over 40 years of experience in corporate America, over half of those in leadership, including senior executive roles. So we have curated the questions and the prompts that we know you need to document to keep that vital information top of mind so that you're prepared for your promotion conversations, discussions about compensation, or if you're considering changing careers or organizations. The Career Accelerator Planner is here, and we couldn't be more excited to introduce you to this invaluable resource. Track your performance, document your contributions, know your worth. Welcome to Leadership Untitled, episode 26, Leadership Untitled with Karen Turner. That is me. I am a leadership coach. I help women kick their performance habit in the butt so that they can eliminate overwhelm. Once they eliminate overwhelm, you can now focus on building influence to increase your visibility, to help you sharpen your leadership skills, and to gain momentum in your career. As I shared at the top of this episode, I'm going to be talking about the one word that can put the brakes on your career aspirations. Before I jump into that one word, because I'm not going to share it straight off the top. I want to be sure that you're listening and to the whole episode. I'm going to talk about the interview process. And while I'm sharing this one word and letting you know that it can affect your ability to get a promotion within your current organization, also a raise, I'm going to be framing the discussion today from the interview process. But everything that I speak about can be applied to other situations as well. So I have been fortunate to have a lot of interviewing experience, from frontline team members all the way up to being on panels and interviewing CEO, C-suite positions. In my 20-year career, I've had just a lot of experience with interviewing. And every organization that I have been involved in or have worked for has had their own twist on the interview process. But at the end of the day, the interviewers are all looking for the same thing. And I call them the 3 C's: competence, confidence, and character. So those 3 C's again: competence, confidence, and character. That's what it all boils down to as I was reflecting on my interview experience and what is it that the interview process, the interview questions are looking for. And it is that competence, confidence, and character. So, generally, hiring leaders from a competence perspective are looking to confirm the skills that you have shared on your resume or in the questions that they have asked in their application process. And they're going to do that generally through stories. We all know the questions: tell me about a time when, give me a specific example when. And if they're asking for a specific example, if they are asking you to tell them about a time, do that. I know. Common sense, though, is not common practice. Going back to all of the interviewing experience that I have had, this ability to answer that question, tell me about a time, give me a specific question, is often answered with, at least initially, well, that would happen all the time. I don't know which example to choose because it happened all the time. And here's what I always did: it's a general story. So the question, tell me about a specific time, is often first followed up with a very general story, a very general statement. I can't even say it's a story, it's a very general statement. And as an interviewer myself, when I hear a general story or an all the time response, I have to dive in deeper, of course. One, to be sure that I'm assessing your skills appropriately, but then also two, I dive in from the perspective of making sure that I'm creating a comfortable environment for the candidate. So I will do my best to reframe the question. I will then also reference back to your resume to be sure that to see if there's anything that I can share that will hopefully trigger your ability to answer with a specific question. And I'm going to remind you that you don't need to answer right away. I'll repeat the question. I'll do what I can to pull out a specific example of whatever skill I'm trying to assess. Storytelling is a talent, it's a skill, and it has to be worked on. This is why I'm actually really passionate about the Career Accelerator Planner, because I have seen from entry level all the way up to C suite an inability to tell a story. Truth, telling the truth, but being able to frame your experience, your accomplishments in an easy to understand way is a skill. Being able to have a beginning, middle, and an end is a skill. Because at the end of the day, your performance can't speak for itself. Your outcome is great. I love that you increased sales by 50%. I love that you decreased expenses by 10%. That's what your resume says. But I need to know, and any interviewer will want to know, how did you do that? And it can't be a 30-minute story. It also can't be a 30-second story. It has to be specific. And it's due diligence on the interviewer's part to dive in, to try their best to get the information that they need to verify the competence that you are stating that you have. And that happens through, again, storytelling, because your performance and your accomplishments can't speak for themselves. The Career Accelerator Planner, as you heard in that promo video, is not just an empty notebook. Orlando and I curated questions in that notebook that naturally followed the beginning, middle, and an end. And so while you are writing in this way, you will develop the skill and the habit of also sharing in the same way. And listen, I think you should have no shame if you're walking into whatever conversation about your career growth to have that planner with you that's sitting back there, to have that planner with you and pull it out and share highlights. Maybe dog ear some of the pages so you're pulling out the specific experiences that you want to highlight, but then reading what you have written there. One, it shows that you have that forethought and that you can communicate. Part of your competence, part of your confidence, part of your character, especially in a leadership role, is your ability to communicate. And if you and I, in an interview process, when you are the most engaged in the process of your career, wanting to get the job, and you're putting your best foot forward, understanding, of course, that it is a stressful time, but if this is when you're putting your best foot forward, and we are having a problem communicating and understanding, then that is a red flag for me. As I said, I probably do a little bit more than other interviewers as I've spoken to colleagues over the years to ensure that I am creating a comfortable environment, reframing questions, doing what I can to prompt. I will eventually move on to the next question. And it's not just the interview alone that decides if a candidate is going to be successful in obtaining the position, it's the whole picture. But we can't underestimate the importance of being able to communicate and communicate clearly and effectively because it demonstrates how you will communicate in the future in this role. And if I'm interviewing someone, or if you are being interviewed by someone who you will be reporting to, it's important for them to know that they will be able to ask you a question and you'll be able to answer it clearly, and that there won't need to be a dance that happens every single time. So, storytelling is key. It's not a waste of time, it is your ability to communicate the truth effectively. So, that's a bonus tip. It's not the one word. But we're gonna jump into that right now. I move a lot, so sorry for the camera going in and out. I do notice that when I watch these episodes back again, I'm like, "I move so much and my camera's trying to catch me." Thankfully, it does the autofocus and it comes back pretty quickly, but I'm doing my best. I just get really passionate as I'm sharing. So, we talked about competence, which includes confidence as well, being able to confidently talk about your experience effectively through storytelling. But we also assess confidence through this one word. You can demonstrate competence through the skills that you shared. Even if you're not the best storyteller, I can tell that you have a very good understanding of your field and the expertise that the organization is looking to fill. And an interviewer can definitely assess that as well. There are all the words, can definitely assess that as well. This one word, though, can highlight a potential confidence or leadership issue, and it is the word we. That's right. It is the word we. And I know I know what many of you are thinking already, and I agree with you. We signals your character. It signals that you are humble, that you are a team player, that you are ready to share the spotlight. And that is incredible. So I'm not saying that you need to eliminate it fully, but I am asking you to take stock as much as you can of when you use it and why you use the word we. So often, especially with women, and this is anecdotal, I don't have the evidence based research behind it yet. But so often, what I have noted in women leaders, in women candidates, is that the we is used to minimize, to make ourselves smaller. I've seen it in meetings where the you don't want to come across as being too aggressive. And I understand the tightrope that women in corporate have to walk. And it is absolutely unfair. It is absolutely ludicrous to even have this conversation. But it's important to talk about the use of we consistently and excessively, is what I'm talking about. When you use it consistently and excessively, where it minimizes or it diminishes your contribution, it becomes a problem. But we are forced to walk a tightrope where of confidence, where we don't want to be too aggressive. We don't want to be called the B word or whatever word can be used to malign or misrepresent our desire to be successful and ambitious. But I want you to stop that now. I want you to own your talent, your skill, your experience. I want you to stand in your power. When you are talking about growing your career, moving your career forward, in an interview, that promotion, that raise, if I am on the other side and I'm listening to your case or I'm interviewing you and you are excessively and consistently using the word we, I a little flag, a little light goes off in my mind because I want to be sure that I circle back and assess your confidence, assess your ability to take the initiative without others being involved. When interviewing for leadership roles, I don't mind the occasional we for sure. I certainly don't. You heard me use we. There's times to use the word we. Orlando Haynes and I, we co-created the Career Accelerator Planner. There are times for the word we. Again, it's not about eliminating the word. It's about being mindful about when, how much we use it and why we are using it. But if every single tell me a time when or give me a specific example about is responded with we, I do begin to question confidence. And I give a lot of grace, especially as a woman leader. I give a lot of grace, but I know that I have to follow up because what I want to know is that as a leader or someone who aspires to lead, that you can stand alone when it gets tough. Because leaders take the brunt of the responsibility. When a project deadline isn't met, when targets aren't met, when something goes awry, when there's an issue off hours, it's not we that is being called, it's you that's being called. It's you that is having to answer to the tough questions. It's you that is having to jump in and fix an issue. And I don't want you to take the brunt of everything all the time. And then when there are successes, it's we. It minimizes your leadership and it minimizes your contribution. It minimizes your experience. And it is a detriment to your ability to move forward in your career. It happens subconsciously, even where people, because you are the one who is consistently taking ownership, responsibility, accountability when things don't go right, subconsciously, our minds begin to frame you and problems because we're not seeing the same accountability and ownership and standing up and saying, this is my success, along with my team. There isn't one leader in the world that executes without a team. And if there's a leader that's saying that they are, that's toxic leadership, and that's another episode. But there isn't one leader of any organization that is achieving milestones, goals, and crushing it without a team behind them. So that goes without saying. So if you are wanting to be, which I encourage you to be deliberate and intentional about honoring your team, I want to hear as part of the interview process, as part of the promotion discussion, I want to hear how you lead and I want to hear you acknowledge your team, but it can't be a we because there are different responsibilities. Your team is not their own leader. You are their leader. So take and own that responsibility. Take and own the title that you have. So let's talk about the ways to intentionally honor your team while acknowledging your leadership. Here are some phrases, specific phrases that you can replace your we with. I led my team of talented team members to fill in the blank. I first thought of this initiative because I saw this gap, fill in the blank, and then I worked with my team to create a plan. I delegated, I followed up, you get the picture. Other phrases that you can try as well. During the project, there was an issue. I gathered the team to create a space for dialogue. I empowered my team to take ownership of. I am most proud of. And then there are times where perhaps you're not the lead on the project or the initiative or whatever it is that you're discussing. If you are working to move into a leadership role, or there's just a project that was really cool, but you just weren't the leader on it and you have a leadership title, you could say, "This was a team effort, and I was happy to be part of a successful team. My specific contributions included." Another phrase, "I helped to resolve." Along the way, I coordinated with my team members, this other department. I could go on and on. Those are just a few examples of how you can be intentional about honoring your team while highlighting and acknowledging your leadership superpower. So again, you don't need to eliminate the word we. But I want you to be mindful of how often you are using it and why. If it is to minimize yourself, if it is to somehow allow others to feel more confident or comfortable, not confident, to allow others to feel more comfortable in your presence, stop it. Stop doing it. You are not doing anyone any favors. If you are crushing it, allow others to rise to you. Don't lower to them. And because I know that you are all influential leaders who are listening, your desire is to raise the visibility of not just yourself, but of your team members as well. There are ways to do that. And I just shared those phrases. So you are an incredible leader. You have incredible skill. You are in an interview and you need to highlight what you have done. So you should take the credit. Not should. Just take the credit. Take the credit. Own your wins. Discuss your challenges with power. Freely use the word I. Minimize the use of the word we, so that whoever you're speaking to knows that you are not just competent and that you have incredible character, but you are also confident in your ability to execute, your ability to drive towards a specific end, a specific target. As you think about how to talk about your team, how to talk about yourself, if you forget all of these examples, think about how did you lead, motivate, or empower? And answer those questions in your head and then share them out loud with whoever you are speaking with. Own your power, own your leadership. That is it for episode 26. Thank you for joining me today. If you want to find out more about my coaching services, please visit leadershipuntitledinstitute.com. Share this episode. I want you to share this episode specifically so we can empower more women to own their experience and to discuss it freely. And I also want you to share it so that we can continue to build a community of influential leaders. I'll see you here next week.